Hello, Soul Strength. Great to see you in another moment of the now. Thank you for your presence. And today's transmission is very powerful, very, very powerful. Timeless as always, yet remember that not all transmissions are meant for everybody. And so feel free to take whatever resonates with you, whatever is triggered, you can share, look within, and or just keep scrolling and allow this message to reach the people that it's meant for. Without further ado, I just love the way it came through. Your true potential is behind your fears. What's behind your biggest fears? Your true potential. That which could be the most intimidating, that which makes us scared. I feel more than the uncertainty of the worst case scenario is the uncertainty of the best case scenario. I feel that whatever's outside of our control is outside of our control. Yet I feel the responsibility or the awareness of knowing what's within our control, what we're capable of, can also be terrifying. Is that what if everything goes my way? What if I am able to tap into my gifts, right? Like I feel that's the fear of your of achieving your dreams or even daring to pursue your dreams. Because if you never pursue your dreams, you can't say you failed. Yet that fear of pursuing your dreams and knowing that you only fail when you give up, and if you constantly put in the time and the discipline to develop and unfold your dreams, then they're vibrational and things will work in your favor. Yet taking that courageous leap of like, I'm going to pursue my dreams regardless takes a lot of courage, and lack of courage is fear. And full circle, that's where I truly feel the deeper fear resides, right? And that's why it's easier to fear what we don't dare to do. Yet once we begin to face adversity and we begin to face our fears, we begin to tap into our potential. We begin to tap into our gifts. We begin to recognize what we're actually capable of. And there's like a poem, and there's different types of reflections throughout history saying that what we fear the most is our light rather than our darkness, right? Darkness is like the excuse that holds us back, but it's in reality is like the void, that like nervousness or even that excitement of what if you were to pursue your dreams and life worked in your favor, right? And you had to become accountable for your potential and you were able to shine unapologetically. And then we begin with like sometimes the uncertainties of like social expectations or what are other people going to say and blah, blah, blah. But again, those are all distractions. So here, what we're going to tackle is the possibility of your true potential being behind your fears and why it's worth living with this like existential courage attitude towards life. Being like, again, we're talking from a higher moral ground, never implying to do dumb or dangerous things. We're speaking more from an evolutionary perspective of like that which we fear the most may just have the answers that we're looking for with regards to the evolution of our souls. Those conversations, those confrontations, those situations that are requiring us to set boundaries, right? Those situations that are requiring us to stand our ground, to be assertive, to make a decision, to choose one of the options, right? Those more determining moments in life that are requiring our presence rather than us being like, oh, I'm so flexible, I just let everything slide. My forgiving skills are great because I just like forget everything and I just like move on. You know, it is what it is. And again, to every moment, it's requirements. I mean, there are moments where we have to be decisive and know when we have to let go, when we need to move on, when we need to let it slide, when it's outside of our control. Yet mind the thin line between like patience and procrastination, right? Like maybe we're just procrastinating on being assertive with ourselves or our relationships and being like, you know what, I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. And however they respond or however this unfolds is up to them, but I have to respect myself, or I do have to come up with a solution or an answer to this situation that I just keep kind of pushing into the future, right? Like, oh, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Sometimes, like I said, if it's outside of your control, there's not much you can do. But sometimes decisions are in your control. What is it that you really want? And if you knew that that life was gonna work your way and be fully supportive of your choice, what would you choose? instead of leaving it at the stake of destiny and be like, oh, let's see how it unfolds, and then it is what it is. What if you were asked to begin to really put your heart out there and your true desires? And again, that's where the fear comes in, because when we explore our anxieties, our uncertainties, our fears, we're like, but what if it goes wrong? Or what if it doesn't go my way? Explore that. Sit in with those emotions. Remember, emotions, energies in motion, information in motion. And it's not something that we rationalize, it's something that we feel through. So we build emotional resilience. So the more resilient I am, the more I can feel through the information and the more assertive I can be, because I'm not afraid of how the situation is going to make me feel, because I know I have the strength to feel through the discomfort or to feel through the uncertainty, right? And then you begin to overcome your fears as you become more resilient. So up until here, to kind of wrap up this main idea, your true potential resides behind your fears. And sometimes it's the discomfort or the sense of the unknown that keeps us from really tapping into our potential. So I just invite you to practice existential courage and go into it and realize that it was way bigger in your mind that it was that than it actually is. Like, we suffer the most in our minds, and sometimes just getting yourself out there and taking that movement, taking that action allows you to sit in and be like, okay, I can do this, and the more you do that, nobody's saying you have to tackle the biggest items on the list firsthand, but like starting to be more assertive within your own experience, even starting with yourself, just being brutally honest with yourself. Stop lying to yourself. Stop telling yourself that you should be doing things that you're not meant to, and start doing more of the things that feed your soul, more of the things that bring you joy. And this, if you're seeing this in this moment in time, is because life is going to begin to speed up in your favor, and a lot of opportunities are going to arise. Yet, if you are still in a place of fear or anxiety, you may just see this happening in front of you, being like, oh, that wasn't meant for me. It's like at some point you do have to raise the hand to stop the taxi, right? Or you do have to raise the hand to get what's yours. And that's what's happening here. When we operate from a higher moral ground, we have what we call free will. Free will does exist for the people that want it. There's a lot of conversations and debates, so we're not going to get into like a right or wrong kind of debate here. We're not polarizing anything. We're just offering a higher moral ground where both of them are available. People that don't have the capacity to be accountable for themselves will believe that free will doesn't exist and that they're at the stake of something else outside of themselves. And the group that is willing to be accountable for themselves and take responsibility for their emotions, for their reactions, for their impulses, and domesticate themselves or like cultivate themselves, understand that free will is always at hand. Even when we feel trapped, there's a choice. There's a choice on how to see the situation, how to approach. You can always choose your attitude towards anything. So even if in the material realm it seems that your options are very limited, you can always go inwards. You can always go deeper into yourself to figure out a way in which you can address this from a higher perspective. And that's what we're working with. So free will is always available if you want to. It's a choice, right? Not everybody wants that choice. Not everybody wants that freedom. A lot of people are terrified of freedom. They don't even know what they would do with themselves if they were free from the system. So again, we're not pushing anybody here, but we are opening the timeline where you can be activated and understand that life runs under your own currency. And the main currency that it operates under is authenticity. So the more authentic you are, the more responsible you are of yourself, the freer your life looks like, right? And again, this is at different dimensions. There's people that are imprisoned and they're extremely free. And there's people that are not in prison and they're completely imprisoned by their own existence, by their own fears, by their own mindset, right? There's people that say that their life was trapped. They felt trapped in their lives, and then they went to jail and they felt true freedom because they realized all of the attachments they had, and that actually going to prison was like a wake-up call. So again, not to dive too deep into that, but I'll let you unpack the perspective on that lane, which is freedom is not necessarily what our lives look outwards, because we can be pretty trapped in our mind, pretty trapped in emotional trauma, right? So our fears can be arising from different lanes. So the idea here is to give everybody a bit of a perspective so that we can each sort out how does that apply in our own life. And again, just remind you, just give you this activation that your true potential is behind that which you fear the most, that which you may feel you're not capable of, or that it's bigger than yourself. That's the challenge, for you to show up and come through the other side and be like, oh wow, okay, I'm still alive. I survived. I survived the panic attack, the anxiety break, the burnout breakdown, or the anxious breakdown, or like whatever you may be going through, right? This looks different for different people, for different souls. Yet, as life begins to speed up to give you opportunities, it's important for you to be able to be willing to cross over that fear, that threshold of fear, in order to grab what's yours, because it's right there for you. What this is going to be an impulse for intuitive growth. You're going to be invited to look into creative ways in order to claim and cultivate your wisdom, right? It's like, because there's different types of intelligence. There's rational intelligence, there's emotional intelligence, and there's the type of intelligence that is intuitive, that is wisdom, right? It's like when I know the information, if you may, when I've worked through the emotions and I made it mine. Wisdom is something that nobody ever can take away from you, because it's what you're made up of. And the only way to cultivate wisdom is to take action, is to walk the talk, is to live by your words, right? Put your actions where your mouth is, if you may. And this looks different for different people. Again, these are the sacred mysteries that entail each soul print. Every soul is here to discover their own mysteries, and things that for some may be very obvious, for other people are going to be like aha moments. Everybody has their own gifts, everybody has their own abilities, everybody has their own story. So that's what we're here figuring out. How does this experience allows us to rejuvenate ourselves, to recognize, right? Cognition is like when there's like this activity in the brain in our experience where we put light into what was dark. Recognition is recognizing yourself, going deeper and having that like, I kind of just figured this out, yet it's so familiar. Like I know I knew this, right? But maybe I wasn't conscious, I wasn't aware. So wisdom, recognition is becoming aware that you're aware. Be aware that you're aware, like, oh, wow. And that defeats any sort of fear. Again, we're not speaking from a controlling perspective, that things are still going to be outside of your control. There's still things that are uncertain. Things will still happen. Life will still happen, but you will be operating from a completely different place. You're going to be operating from a place of confidence. You're going to be operating from a place of assertiveness instead of anxiety or fear, right? I always say it's not what you do, it's where you do it from. I can do the same thing from a place of confidence, happiness, or love, or I can do the same thing from a place of anxiety, fear, or people pleasing. And that's the vibration I'm going to harness afterwards. If I do something out of guilt, guilt is going to come back and charge me for that. If I do something from a place of heartfeltness or heartfulness, I'm going to cultivate more of that. So that's why I say free will exists, because it all depends where we do things from. You can do the right thing from the wrong place, and you're not going to feel good about it. And I guess the other way around. Sometimes you can do things from the right place, in the right mindset, and things don't necessarily turn out the way you wanted them to, or they were not reciprocated or received, but you're at peace. You're like, you know what? I did that with the best intentions. I did that with my heart at hand. So I'm not responsible for how the other person responds. I'm not responsible for the consequences of things that are outside of my control. Right. And that's where your inner peace becomes non-negotiable. And I'm throwing here a few ideas, a few concepts. The point to all of this is to begin to recognize yourself, to begin to claim yourself over your fears, right? It's like you begin to really harvest who you are, what you are made up of, and fears just become some sort of evaluation, if you may, some sort of challenge where you claim more of yourself across adversity. Life is speeding up in a good way, in the sense that more of what you've been working for is going to come your way. That means you're being asked to be more agile in order to take over the opportunities at hand, right? Like there's this phrase or something that says like luck is when opportunity and preparation meets. And that's where you come in. You've been preparing for this, right? Sometimes we're just a little bit like nervous or anxious or fearful. Like, should I go for it? And what if it doesn't work? What if it's not meant for me? All of this indecisiveness and all of these fears, just explore where they're coming from, because they could be either pointing you towards something that you should step away from, or they could be just indicating right precisely what you need to jump into, that fear to cross over and claim what's yours, that potential of yours that you've been cultivating for so long. So this is an opening, this is an invitation for deeper and is, I guess, like deeper and wider and more profound intuitive growth. Creativity is at hand so that you can begin to explore your sacred mysteries. What does that look for you? Right? Something that is a sacred mystery for you, maybe something very normal for other people. So this is not the time to compare. This is not like the time to be like, what are they doing? I'll have what they're having. It's more like, oh wow, this is mine, right? Your ancestral lineage entails a unique blueprint. So your quest, your scavenger hunt, if you may, your expeditions, your adventures are unique to you. We're all in our own expedition. We can all share tools and insights, which is amazing. Yet your story is unique to you. It's unique to your DNA. And it's time to celebrate who you are, how far you've come. Think of how many ancestors were in line for you to happen at this moment in time. And then as you rejuvenate, as you regenerate, and as you claim your power, you're not only working through the darkness or through anything that might have happened throughout your lineage, you're also claiming your ancestral powers. This is where the sacred mysteries come in. This is you, and at the same time, bigger than yourself. And you're the soul that gets to experience all of this whilst being aware, whilst expanding your consciousness and enjoying life at its fullest. Because once you're aware and you're conscious, everything becomes much more vivid in this dream as we wake up. So I leave you with that, with this powerful transformation. It's like a crossover, right? That you choose by stepping into your fears, by owning yourself at all times, your decisions, being accountable for who you are, how you behave. And at the end, you get to cash out, right? Like if you were your main investor, you get all of the returns on the other side. I guarantee it's totally worth it. And it's an ongoing process as well. It keeps evolving. It's like we keep leveling up and we keep redeeming more and more of our potential. So if this resonates with you, welcome to the crew. It's always great to share time and space with you. And as for me, I will see you in another moment of the now.